Hello and welcome to the Global Travel Channel podcast show. I am your host Mark Philpott, and on the show you will listen to me interviewing people all across the world about their amazing travel related experiences. Yes, travel. That's what we're about on this show. So if you're a first timer here and you haven't been listening to the Global Travel Channel podcast show before, shame on you. But glad you finally found us. I get to talk to all these amazing people across the world about their travel experience, and it's so diverse. We have things like people kayaking around Antarctica. Can you imagine that? Even had another guy who ran a marathon in Antarctica. A guy sailed around the UK coastline in a dinghy. Yes. So there's all sorts here, and we don't just talk about travel destinations, we talk about the human experience and how travel changes our lives and the people we get to connect with. So yes, we do get a little bit deeper on this show when it comes to travel. Today's no different. I thought it would be really interesting to have my first ever opportunity to have a chat to a flight attendant. Yes, what's it really like at 35,000 feet? But more importantly, what's it like in general doing this job? You know, we all sit on aircraft, we look at the flight attendants giving us the safety demonstrations, serving our food and drinks, and we think it's a glamorous life, but is that the case? Well, today we're going to find out, and thanks to many of my audience listeners, we have a whole bunch of questions to ask my guest today, so I'm looking forward to that. So why don't we get on over now and introduce my guest for this episode. Her name is Luisa Gonzalez. Luisa, welcome to the Global Travel Channel podcast show. So, how are you today?
Oh, I'm good, Mark. Thank you so much for having me here again.
Well, you know, I always invite back the people who do a good job, and you did a very good job on the last podcast we did together.
Oh, thank you so much. That's fantastic.
But I've got to say also that all my guests do a good job, so I'm going to invite them all back.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, for the sake of the people who haven't listened to you before and your beautiful accent, can you tell us all where you're talking to me from today?
Okay, I'm talking from Cancun, Mexico. I'm from Mexico City, so that's why my accent is a little bit weird, maybe.
Cancun, Mexico.
Yes, the beautiful Cancun.
Isn't it? It's the flavor of the month. I just had a guest on the show the other day, and when I asked her about her first overseas travel experience, she said, I went to Cancun, Mexico.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, it's a beautiful destination. You know, it's a paradise here. And not only Cancun, but a lot of places nearby. So yeah.
For the sake of my listeners, tell them why they should come to Cancun for a holiday.
Well, there are a lot of reasons, because here in Cancun or the places near, you can enjoy the Caribbean, the beautiful white sand, the beach, and ruins, and of course ecological parks and water activities. There's a lot of things around here. But natural wonders are the best here, cenotes, underground rivers. So there's a lot of things to do here. Not only a big resort and, I don't know, food, and that's it. There's a lot of things. And if you like to party at night, of course you can do that also. But there are a lot of things to do in this area.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, for everybody listening, Luisa runs a fantastic travel blog on Mexico. In fact, it's the #1 travel blog for Mexico. So if you want to find out all the amazing opportunities of travel in Mexico, and she covers everything, and she's going to be getting really deep into food soon, about food recipes and everything, check out her blog site, Mexico, and I'm going to be putting all the links to her sites in the show notes today for you to follow up. But I thought it was a great opportunity to get you back on the show, because I've always wanted to speak to somebody who's been a flight attendant, and while it's not your current job, it is something that you've done, and I wanted to give all my listeners a great insight to what it's like to being a flight attendant.
That's great. Yeah, it's a wonderful job, in my opinion. I dream about that for several years, and it's an amazing job.
Yeah, so we're going to go through all of that journey of yours because it's a really interesting journey with the role model that you had in your life that got you into that. And we're also going to ask you a whole lot of questions from my audience, because when I knew I was going to do the show with you today, I put it out there on social media and I asked people to send in their questions for you, and we got some great questions coming in to ask you today all about the activities of a flight attendant. Because on the surface, I think a lot of people think it's a dream job and that everything's luxurious and wonderful and exciting, but I'm sure there's the other side to it as well. So we want to hear all that news from you today. So why don't we start off, Louisa, by you telling everybody your journey to become a flight attendant and how your inspiration of aviation came about in your life.
Okay, yeah. My inspiration came from my grandfather. My grandfather was he was working in the airports. He was an engineer, and he worked at the airports, and he supervised all the work on the airport. So it was amazing because I was near to the aircrafts and all about aviation. So it was very inspirational for me. And I decided to be a flight attendant when I was like 8 years old or something like that. And that was my goal, and I never changed. And when I finished high school, I decided that was the best moment to start. So I went to an airline and asked for the job, made all the tests and everything, and I started when I was 19 years old.
Wow. So tell us about your times with your grandfather, because that must have been really exciting to have somebody who was so into airplanes and everything, and who was obviously very excited and proud to show you around. What are some of your memories from those times that you had with him about aviation in particular?
It was something big because when I was just a little girl, since I was maybe 4 years old, sometimes I go with work to work with him on holidays or something. I joined him to the field and see the job there. So it was really amazing because it's something different. No, not everybody works in that field. It's not that common. It's not like your father is or your grandfather is a doctor or something a little bit more normal or something like that. So it was really different, and to see the airplanes near, to see the people that works in the aviation and how it works and how the aircrafts fly, how everything like that. He always explained to me all of that, and that was something big for me because I made the decision to be a flight attendant not because I want to travel the world. It was not only because of that. It was because I love airplanes. That was the biggest thing in there.
What's the most exciting thing about, and I'm going back to when you were a young girl with your grandfather, what was the most exciting thing about seeing a plane in those days?
It seems so big. It's amazing that something that big can fly easily. Like you cannot believe it when you're a kid, and it was that things that you can see close, right? Because you can see sometimes the airplanes on the air, or you can go on an airplane and take a trip or something like that. But it's different if you see from the other side. He introduced me with captains, pilots, flight attendants, and it's different. It's the other side of aviation, like a little more deeply, you know.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I think, I've had a background in aerospace as well, and it's amazing when you dive deeper into the industry because there's so much to it. And, you're right. And I think even today, if we're honest with ourselves, being adults and older people these days, we're still fascinated by the fact of how an aircraft that size can get off the ground and stay in the air, because it's just one of those technological master things that have aviation. Flying, the sense of flying is just such an an amazing thing, and not many people really truly understand what it takes to keep those aircraft in the air, and how airlines have to fight very hard to make money and to stay ahead of the game, because it's such a difficult industry to be successful in.
Yeah, and especially now, I think, because now the low cost on it's a fight between airlines. It's not easy. So yeah, it's a wonderful world, and if you're passionate about that and you can learn more about that, it's really amazing.
So when you were with your grandfather, did you have any inclination that or dreams that you wanted to become a pilot?
Uh, Not so much. It was weird. Everybody asked me that. Why not a pilot? I don't know. Maybe it was for me a big responsibility. Like I can take responsibility for the passengers, but not the aircraft. It was like too big. Maybe if you ask me now if I do the same, no, maybe not. Maybe I will be a flight attendant first and uh, be a pilot. Yeah, but at that moment, it was a little bit scary for me to big responsibility.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think in terms of, I think flying is such a commodity driven thing these days, is we don't even take, a moment to think about the responsibility that those people up the front of the aircraft have every time that they take off, and everybody's lives that they're looking after. And, it's only when something goes wrong that we see the flip side to that. And yet a lot of these people who are pilots are flying with all sorts of stresses and, family issues and all the rest of it, just like the rest of us. So there's a huge amount of responsibility and stress associated with that. Now, you're not flying anymore at the moment as a flight attendant, so I want to make sure we don't get into any court battles by being sued about what we're going to talk about today, but by your previous company. But
Yeah,
can you
no.
tell us what airline you used to fly with?
I started flying in a small company, and then I moved to the biggest company at that moment in Mexico. The name was Mexicana de Aviación, and it was the first airline in Mexico, and it went to bankruptcy a few years ago, so it didn't exist anymore. It doesn't exist anymore, but it was the biggest airline in Mexico. Is Mexicana.
Yeah, fantastic. And I'm really excited to talk to you about that, because a lot of my guests might have thought that you were going to be a guest that flies with one of the big American airlines or maybe a European airline or whatever, but not many people know about the aviation industry in Mexico. So it's going to be good to get a insight from you on that. Now, let's start off with one of the most important questions of the day, and that is, what do flight attendants like to be called? Because I know there's labels for flight attendants in all sorts of different parts of the world. They get called airline stewardesses, they get called airline hostesses, they get called flight attendants. What was your kind of vocabulary that you used around the name of the job back in the day?
At that time, it was flight attendant.
Okay.
It used to be steward, but at that time, it was flight attendant.
Yeah. And is that what most of the crew like being called?
Yes, yeah, flight attendant, and of course, pilot. But yeah, at that time, flight attendant was the correct name.
Yeah, right. Okay, well, let's start off at the beginning of becoming a flight attendant. So talk us through the process that, you mentioned very briefly in the beginning that, you applied to become one and you became one, but what kind of training did you have to go through? How long did it take you in Mexico specifically to do that? Tell us a bit about the journey of actually becoming a flight attendant.
Okay, the journey here in Mexico is something like this. You like choose the airline you want to work for, and you go and apply for that airline, and they make you a lot of tests, a lot. And if they say you're good to go, and then you sign and you start the training with the airline. There's no way to do it outside. You have to train with the specific airline that is going to hire you. And the training takes around 3 months. It is crazy. You have to memorize everything so fast. all about security and all about weather and about medical issues that you can handle. Of course, you don't become a doctor or anything like that, but all the medical issues that you can handle there. And yes, it's all about security and stuff there inside the airplane. And it's really, really fast. 3 months is crazy fast. So you have to stay all day there taking classes, study almost all night, and a lot of tests. You have to pass all the tests and all the medical tests that made you everything. You have to have a really good condition to make that. And when you finish all the process and the training, you are ready to go.
3 months seems to me to be an incredibly short period of time to train somebody for that kind of job, specifically when you're talking about, as you just said, about all the safety issues and security issues associated with it. There must have been, as you said, so much to cram into your mind in that short period of time. Did this training take place in a central facility in Mexico City, or whereabouts was it?
Yes, it takes in Mexico City. It takes place in Mexico City in a specific facility for the airline. So you have there everything. You have also a model, like an airplane model. So you can do it inside of an airplane. It's not real, but you can do it a lot of things inside. And also there is a pool, so you train there, like if it's the ocean. So yeah, it's really complete. It's really fast. Yeah, I know 3 months is so fast, but you have to make it the best, and it's not easy. It's really not easy to make it. You have to memorize all and fast and perfectly. When you finish, you have to remember every little detail and what to do in this situation and the other one, and all about security. The service is another part that is not really important. It is, but it's not the same.
So how many people dropped out of the courses that you were doing? Was there a high dropout rate or a high success rate? How did that work?
When I made it, we all passed the course and the exams and everything. We were 50, and we all made it, but not every time. Sometimes if maybe 75% of the group made it and the other ones are out, because it is really hard.
And I'm assuming that candidates for these jobs were coming from all over Mexico. Were you living in Mexico City at the time?
Yes, I was living in Mexico City at that time, and it's easier to live there and to have your base there, to move to other countries from Mexico City.
And what was the ratio of men to women in the group to become a flight attendant?
Oh, it's like 80% women and 20% men.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So, do you think it's the same today, or has it changed?
Yeah, I think so. It is the same. I see more women working as a flight attendant than men. Yes, I think it's the same now.
So, what was the hardest part of that introductory training process for you? Did you find any particular part of it very difficult?
Yeah, I think the medical part, it is not easy to learn all about what happened if a person have a heart attack, or if he cannot breathe, or he's choking, or something like that. That is the biggest part for me. It was not easy, but they take more time in those specific part of the training, because it's the most important. But that was not easy, because it's a lot to remember and understand how the body works, and how the body works up there, because it's not the same that on the ground. It's different, and you have to understand what's going on and how to make it, and how to deal with these situations.
Yeah, I guess that's a really fascinating point, and I hadn't even thought of that before, actually, because you're right. The body is under completely different pressurizations when we're up at 35,000 feet than when we are on the ground. And also, people react differently to things like food after they've eaten food in the air versus what they are on the ground. So I'm interested to know when you have a medical emergency related to something like you were just talking about, who makes the decision to say, okay, this person's in a really bad way, we need to make an emergency landing? Is that the pilot's ultimate decision?
No, it is not. It is the more seniority flight attendant on the flight. She or he take care of the situation and she analyze and then tell the pilot what's going on. And yes, of course, at the end, the pilot decide, but it's the call of the flight attendant to decide how bad it is.
Yeah, okay. So then they say, right, okay, we need to get on the ground, and then the pilot's obviously got to look for the nearest airport that can accept them for a landing, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. But first of all, you ask if there is someone in the plane that can help, a doctor or nurse, someone that can help a little bit more. If there's none, yeah, you have to land to take care of the problem as fast as possible.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Okay, so you've now qualified to become a flight attendant, and that must have been a huge celebration amongst the whole 50 of you when you qualified. Was there a lot of nerves heading up towards the first time that you actually flew as a flight attendant?
Yeah, it was. It was really, really crazy because we were so excited to meet it. And yeah, the celebration was fabulous and everybody was so happy. But the first day that you're there, it's not the same. You're on your own and you of course have the crew to support you. But it's really exciting and you feel so nervous to do it, and you go there the first day and you of course forget everything in that moment. It's really crazy. But
Okay,
after
before
the first flight it all come back.
okay, I want to talk in detail about your first flight experience, but before we get there, tell us about how does the scheduling work for the newbies that have just been graduated? Do you kind of get put on the really horrible routes to fly first? How's that all get worked out?
I heard it's that way, but for me it wasn't. It is like you cannot choose so much. Of course, there is what it is, and or maybe you can choose from 50 different schedule and see if that's good for you. But there is nothing more to do, and but it wasn't my case. I was really lucky to have wonderful trips from the very first day. So for me, it was really nice to explore new countries from the beginning.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So let's talk about the first day, because I'm sure everybody's really excited to hear about what a green, young, nervous flight attendant's all about on a first day. And I'm trying to remember back now to all the flights that I've taken in my life, and I've got to be honest, I can't say that I can remember looking at a flight attendant and thinking it's their first day on the job today. That's something I didn't really relate to. So I'm interested to know how you, first of all, dealt with it from the time you left home and you're heading to the airport. How long before the flight goes do you have to be at the airport?
You have to be 1 hour before.
Only
The
1 hour?
Yeah, before the passengers have to go to the plane. So you
Okay.
have to be 1 hour before that.
So
For the
there's no
briefing,
kind of
yeah.
like briefing in an office or something before you get onto the aircraft as a crew?
Yes, you have a briefing, only flight attendants, and then with the captain, and then you go to the airplane.
So what do you do in those meetings? Do you get all together as a group of ladies and talk about how handsome the pilots are, or what do you do?
No, not at all. It's all about the weather and how many passengers do we
Oh
have.
yeah, sure. That's
Yeah,
what
yeah,
you
yeah.
tell me, but I'm sure there's other things going on.
Yeah, maybe you're right. It
So
happens, but
on your first flight, how many other flight attendants were there?
other three, we were four. Uh,
Four of you, okay. And
yeah,
were you all newbies on the same day, or was there a
no,
mixture of experienced ones?
no, only me. There cannot be two newbies in the first flights.
Okay.
So yeah, I was the newest one in there.
So you had your new uniform on. You were all crisply dry cleaned. You brushed your teeth. You done your hair. You put your lipstick on, and you're walking onto that plane. You must have felt very proud of that moment.
Yes, I was. It was the best time of my life at that point. I was so excited. My mom was so happy and so excited, and everybody was so happy. I was so nervous, of course, but yeah, it was the best feeling to put one foot on the plane and see, okay, this is my dream, and I made it, and I made it with good grades, and I'm
Hmm.
ready. So yeah, it was really exciting.
Did you think of your grandfather at that time?
Uh, he wasn't with me anymore, but I know he was looking at me and
Yeah.
smiling and saying, "Well done."
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. So where did your first flight go from, and where did it go to?
Okay, we went Mexico City, Guadalajara, then Los Angeles, and stay in Los Angeles one day, then Guadalajara again, then San Francisco, stay one day there, and then back to Mexico City.
Wow. So in your first flying experience, you got to go to some fantastic places.
Yeah, it was the first flight, so I was really happy because I don't know, so lucky. The first flight, and I was international. And so, yeah, I was really, really excited and happy with my camera on my hand. And yeah, it was crazy.
Okay, so let's go back to, prior to takeoff. You're there. You're welcoming passengers on board. How was that feeling? Did you feel nervous about greeting people and welcoming them onto the plane for the first time?
No, I think at that point I was not nervous. I was really excited, and
Yeah.
I was feeling calm. And I don't know. It's like now I'm here. I have to enjoy the moment. No more nervous, and no, enjoy this time because the first time is only one. So yeah, you have to do it. And I was, yeah, more excited than nervous at that moment.
And how supportive were the other flight attendants, because they were experienced and all the rest of it. They'd been through what you were going through. Were they very helpful and grateful for you?
Yes, they were fantastic. Not only in the first flight, I was there maybe 5 months or 6 months, and they continue asking me, "Oh, you're new, right?" No, not anymore. But yeah, okay, no, but I can help you. And yeah, people were really, really nice to me all the time at the beginning, the first few months, and that was amazing. And also the pilots a lot of the times ask me, "Oh, you're new?" "Yes, I'm new. I'm been here, I don't know, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months." And they ask, "Do you want to, I don't know, take off or land in the cockpit?" "Yes, of course." So, yay! That was, yeah, I always say yes, yes, of course. So it happened many, many, many times in a few months. So I said, yes, I'm new. Yeah, I have to go and take off in the cockpit. Yes.
So how long is that kind of unofficial period of when you're not considered to be new anymore?
I think when the new group started, if there's a new group that is starting the airline, so you're not new anymore. There's new people.
Right. Okay. So it's kind of just waiting for the next batch to come through.
Yeah, exactly. And then you are not, you are old there.
Okay, so let's get back to that first flight. You take off. Did you make the announcements for the safety thing, or what was your job during that pre-takeoff process?
No, thanks God, I didn't do anything like that. It could be impossible, I'm sure. No, I just made, I was in the middle of the plane at that moment,
Yeah.
just pointing the exits, and that's it. At that point, yeah, maybe I was a little more nervous, but no, I didn't make the announcements or anything like that until I was like 6 months working there.
Okay, so after 6 months, you started making announcements.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so on that first flight, you were telling people to put up their tray tables to make sure their luggage was under the seat in front of them, to make sure that they turned off their mobile phones, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and fasten your seatbelt, and
Yeah.
please don't
Yeah.
go to the bathroom at this point, and
Yeah.
all those things. Yes.
Yeah. No smoking, of course.
No, no smoking, of course. No, never. At that point, you cannot use your cell phone or anything when I just started. So yeah, it
So
was.
how many people were kind of, I'm really fascinated by the psychology of people when they fly. So how many people were what I would call organized and ready to go, but compared to the ones that you had to go along and remind a second or third time to, get their stuff away and be ready? Was there a lot of people that just, were annoying and weren't prepared for takeoff?
Yeah, a lot. A lot.
Right.
Yes. That's a good question. Yes, a lot. You have to go and say, please, sir, could you fasten your seatbelt? Oh, yes, yes. And you go again, and no, you have to say it again and again and again. It's really hard on that, because uh, I don't mind to say it again, but please, it's for your safety, so please cooperate. But it's fun, because if you're happy and you enjoy what you're doing, you can do it with a smile. And that's way better if you say it like rude, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Did your voice change though? If you had to go back a second or third time, did the tone of your voice get deeper and more cranky?
No, I tried not to do that. I do that in real life, but no. No, there, my smile was always on my face. That's really important, because you can make more with a smile.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You got more patience than me. I wouldn't be able to do it. I'd lose it. I'd say, put that thing away now. I've already asked you once. Do it.
And yeah, and they will be scared. So, no. I was on the other side. But it could work both ways. Why not?
So on that first flight, you went to Guadalajara and then on to Los Angeles. And so tell us about the mix of passengers. Was there quite a few Americans on board?
Yes, they were from Guadalajara to Los Angeles. There were more, and
Yeah.
also to San Francisco. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a mix, like Mexicans. It's a mix between a lot, but sometimes it was, if we're flying local, more Mexican people. Yes.
So I'm going to put you on the spot now, and you're not allowed to be biased to your own country. So
Okay.
who are the worst flyers, the Mexicans or the Americans?
Wow, that's a hard question. It depends, It depends, maybe even the time of the flight. The red eyes, the people is a little bit more annoying, or
Right,
they
right.
don't care what you said on the red eyes.
Come on, you're being very diplomatic. You can tell us exactly how you feel.
Okay, I can tell. Yeah, maybe Mexican sometimes.
Mexican sometimes, okay. Yeah.
Yes, maybe. Yeah.
A
Yes.
little bit more hot-headed, eh?
Yes, they are. Yeah, they
Yeah,
feel like is their plane is Mexican plane, so they're they decided. So yeah.
So they decided. Okay, so
Yes.
you went to Los Angeles and San Francisco as your first trip. So tell us, how was that experience? It must have been really amazing having a stopover in those places, yeah?
Yeah, it was, and I had the opportunity to fly with two wonderful men, wonderful flight attendants. And when we arrived to Los Angeles, they said, "Okay, this is your first time here. This is your first flight here. So, okay, let's rent a car, and we invite you to go to Santa Monica and Hollywood and all the places. So take your camera and be ready." So it was an amazing experience, because it was my first flight and I was not alone. I was with two wonderful men. They make the tour, in Los Angeles. It was amazing. I will never forget about that.
Mm. Now there's a kind of a impression out there in the world that flight crews stick together very much for everything. Is that true?
No, it is not. It is not. It depends, of course, on who are you flying. It changes on every some flights, but you travel with different people and different crew every week, so it's never the same. You don't have like the opportunity to fly with your friends if you have friends there. So no, most of the time, yeah, the flight attendants go to the hotel directly, and maybe they sleep or they go out shopping or go to look at the place of the new city. But no, it's not so common to stay together.
So it's not true that every male airline pilot falls in love with a flight attendant.
No, it is not true. I know
Only
it
in the
happens.
romantic Hollywood movies does that happen.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It happens. Yes, of course, it happens. Sometimes the captain is in love with the flight attendant, or sometimes the flight attendants get in love and get married. Yes, of course, but it's not that common because
Yeah.
you don't see each other maybe in a year. So it's not that common. You don't fly with them. Yeah, maybe in a year or 2 years because there's a lot of crew members. So yeah, it's not that easy, and also not that easy to have a boyfriend or a girlfriend outside the job because you don't have time to see them. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good point because I guess it's such a lifestyle that is so random in terms of availability, right?
Yeah, right. You don't have birthdays or celebrations, or you cannot go to weddings sometimes, Christmas, anything like that. Yeah, it depends on your monthly schedule, so it changes every time. So yeah, it's not so easy. I'm not saying it's impossible. There's a lot of people married with kids, but it's not so easy to make that. It's I think for my point of view, it's better to do it when you're young and enjoy the moment. And I'm not saying party or no. I'm saying enjoy the moment and enjoy the job, and then take your time to find the person and then maybe get married because yeah, it's not an easy job to have a partner there.
Yeah, sure. Now, in addition to having your regular routing schedule, did you also have the ability to be able to put yourself on call for other bonus flights and situations?
Yeah, when you have your free days, you can just put your uniform and go to the airport and say the pilot, "Hey, can you give me a ride?" And they say, "Yes, of course, wherever you want." So
Right.
you choose if you want to go to, I don't know, maybe Toronto.
Yeah.
You just go to that flight and ask the pilot if they can take you there, and
Yeah.
yeah, that's it.
Wow. Fantastic.
Yeah, it's really easy.
Okay. Well, as I said at the beginning of the show, I had an opportunity to put up a post on social media to ask my audience to throw a few questions at you, and I'd like to get into those now because there's some really good ones here.
Yep.
So, are you ready for that?
Yes, perfect. I hope I have all the answers.
Well, I hope you do too. So, now, the great thing about these questions is we've got people from all over the world. So I'm going to tell you the people's names and where they're from so you can get a bit of an understanding on who's playing the game with us today. So first off, we have Tracy from Sydney in Australia. And Tracy asks, is it always the Smile High Club? If no, what causes the smile to fade when you're at work? Is it the passengers or the turbulence?
Oh, that's a really good question. Yeah, I tried all the time to keep smiling. But yes, it is true. If there is some turbulence or the people is not in the best behavior, you have to be a little more serious about that. It's not a joke. It's really the safety is really really important. So yeah, you have to be polite, and but you have to make the things right. And if there's turbulence and people are standing there, you have to sit them. It's so yeah. Sometimes the smile have to go because of important issues about security. But most of the time, yeah, you have to smile and make the trip really pleasant for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. So you did your best all the time to keep the smile on the face and I guess treating everyone with respect. That's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, because everybody's traveling for a reason, but it could be maybe they're going on a holiday or maybe they are going to a funeral. So
Yeah,
you don't know why the people is flying. So
yeah.
you have to be really respectful and understand that maybe they are sad or angry or worry or something. And yeah, you have to do it the best you can.
Such a good point, because I think, as we all do, we live in our own little bubble. We get on a plane and we sit next to somebody, and often, unless we, really talk to them in detail, we don't know why they're going on that trip. And as you say, and I've had it with a number of my guests on the show that have had to travel for funeral reasons, and it's, a very difficult thing, a difficult experience, a difficult time. And the last thing they probably want to do when they're on a plane is to be hassled by somebody else trying to, be happy and all the rest of it. So, that's a very good point. Okay, my next question comes from Michael, and he's in Bath in England, which is a beautiful part of the world. What do you do when you have an obnoxious male hassling you on a flight? Do you spike their drinks?
Wow, that's good. No, the same one. You have to smile, but not so much.
Yeah,
Maybe.
yeah.
And be honest and be a little bit hard. And no, we have to be respectful here and everywhere. It's a job. I'm not joking here. I'm here for security reasons. And no, it's not appropriate, but if they continue, that's big, because they can put it down on the plane and go to jail. So yes, it is big.
Right. Yeah, okay, that's good. So it is taken very seriously, yeah? I think people underestimate, in terms of when we're up there in the air, there's everybody's safety is at risk, basically. And if someone gets out of control, then it's your job, along with the rest of the crew, to make sure everybody's going to be okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's our job to keep everybody safe and really check what's going on with the people, not only the aircraft. Sometimes the aircraft it's okay, but the people it's making something. So yeah, it is a really big part, because you are not there for serve drinks or get food, right? It's another purpose. That is a bonus, but you are there for security and for everybody.
Yeah, right. So there you go, Michael from Bath. Louisa did not spike the drinks of people that were obnoxious to her.
No, not at all.
Perhaps she's too nice. Maybe she should have done that. Okay, the next question comes from Amelia from Antwerp in Belgium. That's not far from where I used to live. So she asks, what do you least enjoy about being a flight attendant?
Maybe being a part of my family and friends all the time, or almost all the time. But at the same time, I enjoy that because I stayed in hotels and visit new places and new countries. But it's really hard because you're alone. Most of the time you're alone. And it's hard when you're there for several months or years. Because your family keeps their life and they celebrate things and do the normal things. Your friends also, and you're never there. So that's the hard part, I think.
Yeah. So it's remaining connected, to your inner circle. That's the hard thing.
Yes, it is. It is not that easy. You don't have time to do it, and when you have time, maybe they are working. So it is hard.
Yeah. So there you go, Amelia. The difficult thing for Louisa was being separated from her family and loved ones. There we go. Good answer. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. And Tim from beautiful Hilton Head in South Carolina, he asks you, what is your favorite layover destination and why?
Okay, my favorite at that time, I think it was Dominican Republic. I stayed in Santo Domingo and I had the opportunity to see the beautiful country and the beautiful city and taste the food and explore the city and see the culture. With the crew, we took a tour and we stayed there 4 days. So it was a really, really nice experience.
Did you get many places where you were able to lay over for 4 days? That seems a long time to me.
Yes, it was. I stayed, for example, in Sacramento. I stayed 5 days.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot, right? You have really good time to explore more. But it is not everywhere. But yeah, in some places you have a little more time to really connect with the people and the new country and the food and everything. But yeah, sometimes it happens.
Okay, good. Okay, Tim. Well, Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic. Book your ticket. Go there next time you go on a holiday. Okay, Frederick from Woolacombe in the UK asks, what's the best way to recover from jet lag?
And this is a really good one because, in my opinion, if you're too tired, the best way to do it is take a nap, but a short nap, and don't oversleep. Okay, so just take a short nap, do some exercise, the way you can, at least a walk. Take a walk, and take plenty of water. That's really important. A light meal, nothing really heavy for your stomach. Something like a salad or something like that. A light meal, and yeah, take your time to find your rhythm, but don't go and sleep directly. Take a nap.
So a nap versus a long sleep. And is this something that most of the crew did?
Yes, that is something that most of the crew did because it really helps to move it fast and to adapt to the new place, and the jet lag, it feels a little less hard.
Okay, good. So we move from the south of England up to Scotland, and Kathy in Scotland asks the question, I'm interested in the difference of what people think you do as a flight attendant and what the job is actually like.
Okay, most of the people think that the flight attendants are just a nice smile up there, serving food and drinks, and of course it's not. That is not. The idea of a flight attendant is to be in charge of all the security in the plane. You have to be prepared for any medical situations or any dangerous situations there. So it's all about security. Flight attendants is all about security. The other part, serving meals, it's just a bonus.
Yeah, right. So it's not about looking pretty all the time. It's about actually functioning and looking after everybody on the flight.
Yeah, exactly. You have to look nice and you have to smile, but it's a big deal. It's not just like be pretty and give me some drinks. No, it's a lot more than that.
And I guess like many other jobs where it's customer facing jobs like that, you're dealing with the public all day. So, the public always brings their attitudes and their problems to you. So it's a tough job, yeah? You've got to be emotionally switched on all the time.
Yeah, that's really important because yeah, you have to be in the best mood that you can, and you have to really take care of the feelings that the passengers may have because some passengers are really excited for a new adventure or something and they're really happy traveling, but maybe some of them are not, are in a bad mood or some with some problems, or maybe someone died. So you have to really be careful with that and look for the people and really understand if they maybe don't answer you really nice or they don't smile you back. Maybe there is a reason. So yeah, that is really important.
Okay, good one. Karen from Belgium asks, flying to so many destinations, can you get to enjoy them, and can you get to know the people and the culture in the time that you have in those places?
Yeah, in most of the places, yes, you have time, at least one day. In others, you have more time, as I said, but in some places, at least you have one day, and maybe it's not enough to do a lot, but you have the opportunity to maybe take a tour or rent a car, see different things, try the food, see a little more about the culture and things. Yes, there are plenty of opportunities to do that.
Yeah. So are there times where you just get tired and you just want to stay in the hotel and chill out? Does that happen from time to time?
Honestly, for me, it wasn't. Never,
Right.
never. It was
You must be a Gemini.
I am, of course. Yeah. Absolutely, I am.
Always on
No,
the move and never
yeah,
getting bored, huh?
exactly. You can, in my opinion, the way I did, it wasn't like that. No, no, no. I need to take advantage of the, the place that I am in that moment. Even if it's Mexico, it's my country, but I have to see more and experience more and go and see outside. And for some crew members, no, yeah, it is. They go directly to the hotel and sleep. For me, never, not
Never,
even
yeah.
once, no.
Okay, good. So the next question is from Jessica in the beautiful state of Montana in the United States. And Jessica asks, can you share with us the most memorable experience of your flying career, as well as any random acts of kindness from passengers?
Okay, yeah, sure. I have a good one. Uh, a few years ago, when we were about to land uh, in Ciudad del Carmen here in Mexico, it's a city next to the ocean, and in the runway on that airport, there are birds all the time. All the time there are birds because it's near to the ocean, and it's not easy to land there. So it's a little bit dangerous to if the birds are right there in the runway. So the captain, before we just land, he decided to take off again. So it was a crazy, crazy, crazy situation
Mm.
for everybody. Of course, for me it was amazing. It was fantastic. The I don't know, the best day because it's an excited. It's a feeling that you don't have when you're traveling. It was really exciting, but for passengers it was different because they have no idea what's going on. They cannot see the birds on the runway, so it was a nice time, but not for everybody maybe.
You have a great way of explaining a scary, dangerous, and terrifying situation for passengers in a way that you loved it and enjoyed it and got the thrill out of it.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, if I saw their faces, I know it was stressful for them, but for me, it was wow. It was fantastic because I love airplanes. But for them, I know it wasn't like that. So I was not smiling and laughing. No, no, no. I swear it. I was ready to comfort them.
So in the airline industry, that's called a go-around when you abort a landing situation for whatever reason. It can be birds, it can be turbulence, it can be other reasons, but mainly potential bird strike. So that was your first one, was it?
Yeah, the first one and the only one.
Only one.
Yeah, never
Okay.
happened again.
Oh, that's a shame
Yeah,
for you, but good for your
yeah,
passengers.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, but a shame for me. Yeah.
Okay, next question comes from Sonia up there in beautiful Scotland, and she asks, what's the most annoying thing that people do on flights?
Okay, that they don't pay attention. If you're saying, please remain seated, please fasten your seatbelt, please don't use the bathroom in that moment because it's dangerous. Just please do it. It's really hard to explain why. You know, you
Yeah.
cannot go and explain every person. This is dangerous because of this, because of that. Just please do it. Understand that the flight attendants are there for a reason and not to annoy passengers. So that
Mm.
that's the answer.
Okay, so listen more intensely and just do as you're told, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, next question comes from Chris, and he's just up the road here in Brisbane in Australia, and he asks, what does your perfect customer do or doesn't do on a flight? And the second part of his question is, are you worried about long-term effects from radiation as a result of flying all the time?
Okay. The best passenger, I think, if there is the yeah the best passenger could be someone that smile you back and sit as much as he can and don't go and walk all the time and just enjoy their flight because that is important that the passengers that really enjoy the flight and relax and do the best and cooperate with the crew. That is
Mm,
the perfect passenger.
mm. Is it a gender thing? Are men worse than women?
Uh, no, I think women are worse than men.
Ah,
Yeah, I'm sorry, but
okay. You
yeah,
heard
it
it here
is
first,
true.
folks. You heard it first on the Global Travel Channel that women are
Yes.
worse flyers than men.
Yes, that's true. I'm sorry, but it is true. Yeah.
Okay, okay. I won't put my toes into it any further than that because I will open up a whole debate, I'm sure.
No, no,
So
yeah,
what
yeah.
about this? What about the second part of Chris's question about are you worried about long-term effects for your health from the radiation?
Okay, yeah, that's a really, really good question. When I just started, it wasn't a big deal for me. I didn't know too much about that. I had no idea. But yes, it is. It is real. It is big. And it's really dangerous to stay in that job for many
Mm.
years. It's your decision. If you want to do it for a life, that's okay. But it is dangerous. It's real, and not because of cancer, maybe. You can get more diseases doing that job.
Is it one of the many decisions that you made to finish your career as a flight attendant?
Yes, because I started having pain in my ears all the time. I get sick more.
Mm. Mm.
And yes, that was a reason. And I don't have it anymore because, of course, I don't travel every single day.
Yeah, right. So you were experiencing different types of health conditions as a result of flying every day.
Yeah, I had the flu several times a year at that time.
Mm.
Yeah, so.
Okay. Okay, good. Next question comes from Dion, and he's in a place called Bundaberg, which is north of Brisbane here in Australia. And he asks, what has been your favourite layover hotel experience?
I think one here in Mexico. It's located in Zacatecas,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a beautiful hotel in an old bullfight arena.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so
Wow.
yeah,
That sounds cool.
yeah, it is. It is a beautiful hotel.
Yeah.
It's a little expensive. It is, but it's worth it. It's a beautiful hotel. So yeah, that's my favorite, I think.
Do you remember the name of it?
I think it's Quinta Real, Zacatecas.
Oh, okay. We'll have to put that in the show notes
Yeah,
so Dion can check it out.
yeah, sure.
Okay, next question is from the eastern United States from Kate, and she's got several questions here, but the first one is, how often do you train or do recurrent training when you're a flight attendant?
Okay, that happened every single year. You have to do it, the training, not a complete training, but yeah, you have to do it every single year.
Yep.
Also, the medical checkup, you have to do it every year.
How long does the retraining last for?
I think it's a month.
A month. Okay,
Yeah,
so you're
around a
flying
month.
for 11 months of the year and then you take 1 month off to do retraining.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And is there a lot of changes in the training from year to year? Do you notice a lot of things that have changed within that period of time?
It changed if the airline have new aircrafts, different
Right.
aircraft. Yeah, you have
Mm-hmm.
to learn about that specific aircraft,
Yeah.
but not so much in the other aspects. It almost is the same.
Okay. Does the job get easier as the new generation of aircraft come out?
Yeah, yes, of course. Yeah, when I started, the airplanes were a little bit different. Now they have more functional things to help the crew to make it easier. Yes.
Right. Okay. The next of Kate's questions is, do you bid for your routes or are they assigned to you?
They are assigned, yes, monthly. They are assigned, but you can choose a little bit when you have more time there in the airline. You have more open to choose different monthly schedules.
Okay. So the more experienced you are, you can push the young ones down to the terrible routes, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
I know you didn't want to say it, but I said it for you.
Thank you. Exactly like that.
You're too nice sometimes, Louisa.
I can see that. You too.
Okay, so what's the this is another question from Kate, by the way. What's the worst item or items on your uniform?
I think for me it was the dress. I prefer to work with pants. It's more comfortable. It's
Yep.
yeah, and yeah, that the other thing maybe is the heels.
Yep.
But you can change it during the flight and use flats. So yeah,
Okay.
that's easier.
Did many of the male flight attendants wear dresses or pants?
It depends. Some of them, yeah, prefer the pants. Some of them just the skirt. No, I don't think so.
I'm not asking you what went on in the hotels after the flight. No,
Okay. It's just during the flight. No, I
during
think
the
pants.
flight.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay.
I think pants is
Pants
yeah.
only. Okay.
Only.
Another one of Kate's questions was about the scariest moment on your flight. You've just talked about that in terms of your go around and your potential bird strike. So we'll move on from that one. The next one she has is, what's the most exotic place you have flown to and overnighted for an overnight stay?
I will say again, Dominican Republic. It was.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a nice, really, really nice experience and a wonderful surprise for me. I didn't expect that beauty. Yeah.
Okay. So what's so special about it?
The people, the food, the culture, the colors of Dominican Republic. It's really amazing. Yeah.
Okay. So I can see that everybody who's listening today is going to be looking and researching about the Dominican Republic for their next holiday. I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we've got through all of the questions from my audience, but my little puppy dog, Oscar, he's got 2 questions for you. Would you like to answer those?
Yes, please. I'm so excited.
Okay, so the first question from Oscar is, are there puppies allowed on the flights?
Yes, of course. Absolutely. They just,
Okay, so
yeah.
how does that work?
I think they have to be less than 10 kilos.
Okay.
And, yeah, they have to stay on the cage, the special cage. They have to eat several hours before the flight, not during the flight.
Mm-hmm.
And something else, but I'm not sure about something else, but it's really, really easy and it's so much better than doing on cargo.
Okay, so there's 2 ways that dogs in particular can be carried on flights. One is in cabin if they're less than 10 kilos and they're in a carry-on bag or cage, and if they're not, then they go into the cargo hold. So Oscar, you're going to have to lose some weight, mate, and get some of that fat off before you can go in the cabin. Okay, Oscar's next question is, what do you think of the airline food?
Wow.
It's funny, he's always thinking of food as my dog.
Yeah. I can see that. Okay, the food. I think the food, it wasn't that bad when I just started. I'm not saying that it's bad now. Maybe if you're traveling in first class, it's not that bad, but honestly, it's not. It's not so good. My opinion is better to have something, lunch or something before the flight, and something light, not something heavy, not a hamburger, maybe salad or something really light. And take some snacks for the plane, because the food on the plane is not that bad, but it's not that good.
Yeah. Look, I think you raise a really good point. Flying and the preparation for flight is really important, and I guess a preparation for a holiday when you're traveling, extensive distances, and you might be doing a long haul flight. It doesn't actually start the time you arrive at the airport, at your origin. It actually starts the days before you leave, in terms of preparing your body and getting yourself in sync with making sure you get enough sleep, and it's really funny because obviously when we're excited to go away somewhere, we're busy organizing, we're stressed out to make sure everything's right at home, and we generally, rush to the airport, and that's when we start slowing down, right? But to have a really successful trip, you need to be planning a few days before you even leave to make sure you're eating a bit lighter and drinking plenty of water and sleeping well and all those things. Do you agree with that?
Yes, exactly. That's really, really important, Mark, because if you're going to make a big trip, an important trip, some holiday, something like that, you have to start a few days before that. And don't eat really heavy meals. yeah, drink water, sleep well, relax, pack with time. Don't hurry because it's stressful and it's not good for your health, and you're gonna feel really bad on the plane and
Yeah,
arriving. Yes.
yeah. So was your time as an air flight attendant, was it a part of the inspiration behind what you're doing today as a travel blogger?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I discover new countries, new cities, new places, new cultures. Everything was new at that point. So I realized that I am so lucky to have Mexico as my country. And that inspired me to share all the beauty of my country, the color, the food, the people, the traditions, everything. And yeah, it was a big, big inspiration.
Yeah, great. So for people listening today, Luisa's been on the show before talking about her amazing country of Mexico. She has a travel blog called A Mexico, a combination of amazing and Mexico, which I think is a really cool name. And I'm going to be putting the links to all of Luisa's work, social media sites on the show notes today, so you can check that out. But Louisa, it's been fascinating talking to you today about being a flight attendant. Thank you for answering all of my audience's amazing questions. And thank you to my audience as well for putting those questions to Louisa today. I hope you got the answers you were looking for and maybe some that surprised you. So it's been fantastic having you on the show.
Thank you so much, Mark. It was really fantastic.
And when you get a chance, get on a big bird out of Cancun and fly all the way to Australia, and Oscar and I will show you around and you can tell us how that super long haul flight was for you.
Oh, I have to do that. Okay, it's a promise. I'll do it.
Okay, well, until we speak again next time, Luisa Gonzalez, thank you for being on the Global Travel Channel podcast show. She is such a delightful human being as Luisa Gonzalez. Luisa, thank you again for coming on my show. And if you didn't hear Luisa chatting to me in the first episode we did together, she was talking about her amazing country of Mexico and giving you more than enough reasons why you should visit there. Then head on over to the website or the YouTube channel and check her out, because the Global Travel Channel podcast show is ready to go to Mexico. Let's see what happens there. Okay then, folks, so if you're looking for more episodes of the Global Travel Channel, all you've got to do is go to the website www.globaltravelchannel.com. You'll find many more amazing guests like Luisa sitting there telling their amazing travel stories. Now, if you want to download the podcast, you go to the usual places. That's Apple Podcasts, which is on the iTunes site under the podcast section, Stitcher, Spotify, Castbox, iHeartRadio, Google Play. There's a host of places you can get to download our podcast, and you can get all the links there on our website. Don't forget, we've just started up on our YouTube channel, so check out the Global Travel Channel on YouTube and you can listen to all of the podcasts there. And we have our own Patreon page, so if you do want to do something incredible, you can contribute to our ongoing sustainability for as little as a cup of coffee per month. Yes, that's all we need to survive. So head on over to our Patreon page and see if you can support us there. Everything received is greatly appreciated. Okay, well, if you like our content, don't forget to share it with your friends, family members, and your work colleagues when you go back to work if you're not working at the moment. And we look forward to getting our show to as many people around the world as possible. Okay, well, that's it for this particular episode. My name is Mark Philpott. Thank you all very much for joining me today. I'm looking forward already to the next time that I can bring you another episode from the Global Travel Channel podcast.